Good morning. It's Pastor Martin, coming to you from the beauty of my backyard. I'd like to continue our process of reading from the book Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History by Vashti Harrison. Today I'd like to read two stories, one about Augusta Savage. Augusta grew up in a poor family with 13 brothers and sisters in Green Cove Springs, Florida. As a child, she had no toys to play with, but she loved to make things. Augusta spent time in her backyard where the soil was rich with natural red clay. This was where she learned to make miniature animals for herself and others. However, her father did not approve of her creativity. Even though it meant angering him, Augusta continued to sculpt. In 1921, she moved to Harlem, a prominent African-American neighborhood in New York City. At the time, the community was experiencing an exciting boom in the arts, known as the Harlem Renaissance, and Augusta was part of it. She thrived artistically, but this did not change the hardships of racism that were still prevalent in the United States and around the world. Augusta openly fought racial prejudice in the art world and was labeled as a troublemaker. She said she was standing up not only for herself, but for future students of color. Augusta dedicated much of her life to teaching and encouraging young people to pursue their artistic passion. She felt that their creations could be part of her legacy. In Harlem, she opened her own school, the Savage School of Arts and Crafts, and she became the first director of the Harlem Community Art Center. In 1939, she created her most iconic work, a large piece commissioned by the New York World's Fair titled Lift Every Voice and Sing, also known as the harp. Despite her artistic success, Augusta struggled with finances and racism until late in life, but she always found a way to keep making art. And the second story is about Marian Anderson, who was born in 1897 and died in 1993. With a nickname like Baby Contralto, Marian always had a future in opera. She started singing with the church choir in her hometown of Philadelphia when she was only 6 years old. The congregation wanted to help cultivate Marian's natural talent, so they raised funds to get her voice lessons. By the 1930s, Marian was performing at big venues and famous institutions in the United States and Europe, often as the first woman or African American to do so. In 1935, she was invited to the White House to sing for President and First Lady Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. She was the first African American to receive such an honor. This, however, did not stop discrimination from affecting her career. In 1939, she was barred from performing at the Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. When Eleanor Roosevelt found out, she invited Marian to sing at the Lincoln Memorial on Easter Sunday. Marian sang in front of a crowd of 75,000 people and was broadcast live across the United States to millions by radio. Marian stayed in the national spotlight for many years. In 1955, she became the first African American to perform with the New York Metropolitan Opera. She delivered the national anthem at President John F. Kennedy's inauguration. He later awarded her the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She participated in the Civil Rights Movement and sang on the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom in 1963. Marian was a trailblazer and a leader in her field, with a long respected career. With her voice, she reached people all around the world, and when faced with adversity, she rose above it. I'm learning a lot about important women in our history. I hope you are too.